Given how Jonan Vasquez's art style pairs well with horror and how normally crazy Zim episodes are, you can probably guess how off the wall this will be. The episode begins at the school. It's Halloween if you can't tell, and the whole class is in costume, all except for Zim, who is of course already wearing his human disguise. Ironically, in this case, going out as normal would probably register as a costume. As it turns out, Zim is a little freaked out about Halloween, convinced that all the people in costumes are real monsters, having taken Miss Bitter's statement of them being sugar-crazed zombies literally. The odd thing, though, is that Dib isn't here right now, and when he finally shows up, he's acting really weird. Which, granted, is not unusual for him, but he seems extra jumpy today. And more importantly, he keeps fading in and out of existence.
Monsters! Hideous monsters!
It's not until the other students use one of their crazy cards to have Dib sent to the crazy house for boys, and we see what he's seeing, that we get a better picture of what's going on with him. You see, the night before, Dib was messing around with his dad, Professor Membrane's science equipment. Specifically, a dimensional scope, to see if he could use it to peer into alternate spooky dimensions. For the most part, Dib was attempting to prove his theory that he had that some paranormal phenomenon are the outcome of these alternate dimensions colliding with his own. He was also looking for inspiration for Halloween costume ideas as well. After tripling the output, Dib saw a flash of another world. The problem is, even after exiting the machine, the flashes keep coming, and, more importantly, they keep lasting longer and longer. Dib has to figure that if this keeps happening, he'll end up stuck in this other world permanently. This kind of talk, unfortunately, gets Dib branded as insane and dragged away to a padded cell.
My poor insane son!
Dib ends up disappearing again, only to find out that this world isn't actually a nightmarish alternate dimension, at least not completely. Dib is actually being forced to be transported into a dimension based on his own imagination.
This whole dimension exists in your mind, Dib! Maybe that's why your head's so big!
As we see more later, that's the reason the world and some of its inhabitants look like nightmarish versions of the city and who lives there. Which, granted, is already scary enough, but the real trouble is that the monsters of this world, having ruined it, actually need Dib so they can escape through his head and enter the real world.
He's gone!
While that was going on, Zim had actually gotten home and barricaded himself in his house to defend it from trick-or-treaters, still under the impression that he's dealing with actual monsters. Proving how pregnable his fortifications were, Dib bursts in to try and get Zim's help.
You're the only one who can help. Help? You? My dad won't let me use his equipment and I need to reverse the effect. You're the only other person with the technology to— Hang on with you!
In the process of trying to make him leave, Dib fades out again, and due to touching him at the time, Zim is taken with him. Initially escaping, the duo attempts to go to this world's version of Dib's house, on the pretense to see if this world's version has a scope as well. Then, after figuring out that the monsters only recognize him by the collar the scientists put on him, Dib decides to use Zim as a decoy.
I'll get you, Dib! You stinking human!
The monsters taking Zim to this world's version of the school, and their leader, the monster version of Miss Bitters, who immediately pegs Zim as the wrong person. She instead tries to use Zim as a means of getting Dib to come to her, not accounting for the fact that they are not in any way, shape, or form friends. Waiting until the monsters are distracted, Zim escapes the school, pausing only to wonder if Gur is okay. Zim actually manages to re-find Dib at the nightmare version of his house, only to discover that in the interim that Dib just got himself captured by the nightmare versions of Membrane and Gaz. Before going off to save Dib, Zim goes downstairs to the lab to find the scope, and finds something else. Revealed to be some kind of a skeletal chicken walker.
I'm not here because I like you, Dib! I'm just here for your filthy gargantuan head!
Zim's revenge is cut short when Monster Bitters gets even scarier and they have to flee. Managing to get the portal in his head working, Bitters corners them and Zim escapes, landing in the aftermath of Gur's candy spree. Dib, meanwhile, given the portal is on his forehead, has to get a little more creative with his escape. Hey, if it works, who are we to judge? Before the portal can fully close, though, Monster Bitters almost escapes, only to get a good hard look at a small smattering of the kinds of disgusting people she's going to have to deal with in the real world, reversing momentum, closing the portal for good. Dib pretty much calls it a night after that.